Ashley help educate me on that there was a book and mini books.
She read the book to
books,
him.
Right?
She read the book to you,
Yeah.
right?
I'm like, can you record this and make an audio book? I wasn't the biggest reader until Twilight came out, and then I had to study my character. I read it. I'm like, this is really easy. Like the reading, the writing was really easy to grasp. And then I was like, all right, I'll get New Moon. And it wasn't in that much, so I went. The eclipse came around, but I was really happy that Breaking Dawn came out after we had shot Twilight. So like, yes, I get to shoot more Emmett stuff.
So I had a bit of a different experience. I came in pretty early on while they were still auditioning Bella, and when they like sent everything out, everything was very cryptic, and it was like girl 17, and that was it. And I was kind of like, what am I supposed to do with this? There's no script, there's no breakdown. And you kind of want to be informed as to what they're looking for, what you're going to do. And I asked my agents like if they could get any more info, and they said, oh, well, it's a book. And as soon as they told me that, I ran out and I got the book and I read it without sleeping. Like, I feel like a lot of people kind of did. You read it in like a day. It was just like, like, to Kellen's point, it was such an easy read, and it really immersed you into this world. And I fell in love with Alice.
Yeah, so my agents called, they said, do you want to do a vampire movie? I said no, because I was thinking like Bats and Caves. Not there's anything wrong with that. There just happened to be at that time like a bad string of vampire movies at the time, like B vampire movies. So I was like, no. And they said, well, this director's directed Catherine Hardwicke, and I was like, oh, I like her. And so I said, maybe can I meet on it? And they said the audition's tomorrow. I said, is there a script? They said no. I said, but it's based on a book, and they said yeah. So I ran to the bookstore. I bought the book. And then I was just gonna read like, Carlisle's role, because I was like, I gotta audition tomorrow, so I was like, flipping them through to Carlisle. And then I started reading it, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good. And so I went back and read it from page 1. I stayed up till like 2 o'clock in the morning reading it. I had bloodshot, like red eyes when I went to the audition. They're like, you're perfect. When you're an actor, if you do a good job, they're always like, you're on a list. It's a magical list, and you never know how many people are on it, right?
It's a short one.
So they're like, it's a short list. So you're like, well, 2 people, 5 people, nobody ever knows. And so I would call and say, so how's it going? And they finally told me like a week and a half later, 2 weeks later, they said, you didn't get it. And I said, what? And so I was like, oh man, I thought I was good for that. And so I was at an audition the next day after that, and I was there was a book. It said 100 years of vampire making in Hollywood on the coffee table. And so I started flipping through it, and it was like Bela Lugosi and like Interview with a Vampire. And I thought, man, the universe is really rubbing it in. I didn't get this movie. But I had such a good time reading with Catherine that I thought, you know what? I'm gonna steal this book. No, I bought it. I wrote down the name of it, and I bought it, and I sent it to her, and I inscribed it. I said, Catherine, sorry it didn't work out on this one. I hope this book inspires you to make a great vampire movie. Maybe you'll be, make one of the 100 best vampire movies one day. Be in this book. And so she got the book the day that the actor that they hired, because they thought I might look too young next to the cast, so they hired somebody 10 years older than me. And then his deal didn't work out, or I don't know if his schedule didn't work out. But the day they said that actor's not going to work out, who do you want to go to? She got my book. So she's still about Peter Facelli, and they said they like me. And so I always joke I bought my role for $29.99.
excited to have a job. I love the books, but like I also think like nobody knew what it was going to be. I was just excited. I knew that I loved the books, and I knew that I was excited to have one of my first jobs that I ever had. And those two things, I think, gave me something that like is irreplaceable, and why I have so much affinity for the first film and what we were able to create, because this was where we, introduced ourselves to the world as these characters, and we didn't quite know what we were getting ourselves into, and there was such a like naivety there, but there was something like really pure about the whole experience of what we like got to experience together. And then obviously when the first one came out, we knew that this was something much bigger and much different. I mean, to be honest, like whenever I got the role, I asked my manager, I was working at this place called the Belmont restaurant, and I was like, so I got this thing, can I come back to work after? And he was like, Ashley, I don't think you're gonna need to come back to work. And I was like, okay, well, but can I? And that was like my mindset going into it, where I was like, this is very cool and I get to be a part of this thing, but like nothing is guaranteed in this space. Like you don't always get to go on and make another film. And so for me, it was just like a very exciting thing to be in that very moment. And then once things started to take off, it like became kind of this like whirlwind of its own. Yeah, I feel like in the beginning it was a little like, I think we tried to do a couple of things, but there were like, I have memories of, when I was with Rob doing a press thing overseas, like we had some event and they broke down the barricades, and like it became very clear that it was sometimes a little too dangerous, and I think it would have been too chaotic to do it. And so like a couple of years ago, maybe like 3 years ago, did we start doing these, and it's been really lovely because we didn't always get to have the at-length fan the conversations and the interactions that we get to have here, and it's really like beautiful that this far down the road we get to actually sit with people and hear and understand how it impacted their life, and what a beautiful thing Twilight's been for so many people. And so we didn't get to have it then, but we're trying to kind of like make up for that now.